Okay, I think we have audio now. Woohoo, technical issues there. Technical is always fun when things aren't working, and Krishna clearly doesn't mute his laptop.
I'm testing the audio.
Taking the audio, Krishna.
I'm testing
Anyway, I'm
testing
back.
Wait a second. It says audio input capture, not mic aux.
Well, that's the capture device. That's what we're using.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Anyway, I'm going to start over again. Anyway, I'm back. I was on a little bit of a break here because Krishna and Arjuna were driving me nuts. So I've decided to return after going to the desert.
Why?
You're a liar.
Why did you come back?
What do you mean?
Why? We didn't want you to come back.
Yeah, you wanted to be on the show, but you forgot audio equipment.
Yeah.
Shame.
Shame on
Shame.
you. Shame on you.
You know, it's actually very true. That is exactly what happened. So
What do you have to say for yourself?
apologies. Just kidding.
Good.
Anyway, we've got a big show today. I'm going to read my intro that my crackpot producer, Krishna,
I'm not your producer.
my writer, Krishna, wrote for me.
That's better.
And we're gonna see what happens. Also, for those watching on the Twitch, on the YouTubes, on the Facebook, we do have our chat screen up here. You can definitely interact with us. We may not immediately respond to you, but we will respond to you at some point. Maybe.
Wow. Really inspiring confidence.
In my ability to respond to people.
Yes.
Okay. Everything's good for me to start this intro, Arjuna?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Intro. I'm back, bigger, faster, and stronger than ever. My name is Ravi, and vacation was simply splendid last week. Thanks for asking. I'm joined by Krishna and Arjuna, my two brothers, and as usual, we have a packed lineup for you. We're talking about Lovecraft Country, Star Trek Lower Decks, New Mutants, Sylvester Stallone, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and more than I want to mention in this intro. But before we go, I have a public service announcement. Please clear your throat. Cobra Kai is on Netflix. You don't have to waste money on YouTube Red. I mean YouTube Premium. I mean, was it even still on YouTube? That is a question.
These are the questions that are worth answering.
What
Cobra
is-
Cry. Cobra Cry.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Wow, you guys are all over the place today. Huh?
I-
We are
I'm
always all over the place.
I have carb brain right now. I had half my Indian food. Now I have carb brain. So the brain doesn't work that good. No more.
Okay.
Before we get really dive deep into the show, there was unfortunately a tragic passing this past weekend. Chadwick Boseman at the age of, I believe, 43. Unfortunately, after battling cancer, unfortunately lost and did pass away. Chadwick Boseman was a fabulous, amazing actor, known for probably one of his biggest roles, Black Panther. I have consistently joked about that movie having the worst CGI. I still believe it has the worst CGI, but it has a great and amazing story. He also played roles such as Jackie Robinson. He was also in that one that Arjuna loves. Which one?
21 Bridges.
21 Bridges.
To be fair, he is easily the best part of that movie and makes it a functioning movie.
So without him, it would have been the worst movie ever
Hot
made.
garbage.
It would have been really bad. I mean, it was a bad movie, don't get me wrong, but he's all in. He's all in on the role, and that's
who he is.
that was Chadwick. Yeah.
He is an actor that he dives all the way in. He inspired his colleagues. Michael B. Jordan actually put out a Instagram post today, expressing how Chadwick Boseman paved the way for him, helped him in his career, was a big important role. The one thing I do want to talk about before, like I said, we get into the show is for all the assholes on the internet going on about Black Panther 2, just please remember that people are mourning and dealing with this. It is not appropriate. It is not the right time to ask about what happens with the next film, if there is another film or any of that. People are mourning. Give people space. Don't ask stupid questions, and just generally be smart.
Yeah,
It's internet etiquette.
And it's just etiquette in general. He's more of an actor and a role. He is a human being and a person, and like any person, and family, you need to let people mourn, let people deal with what they need to deal with, and that's a question. That's first of all, that's not your concern as a consumer. Let the company figure that out down the road, and then talk about it whenever, just not immediately. It just doesn't make sense.
Right. I agree.
Okay. moving into other things that are, not
Less sad.
less sad, but still not as fun. Great show, Lovecraft Country. We finally got episode 3 this past week, and I obviously wasn't on last week for Lovecraft.
I tried to
Country.
represent you well because
Did
I
you?
actually went in hating everything. I hated Lovecraft last week. Not hating it. I didn't like it as much as episode
Yeah.
1. I didn't like Lower Deck. So I tried to represent you well last week, and I was convinced otherwise. So I don't know
You
if
were
I-
swayed on 2 of the 3.
yes, I
which
was
is
swayed on
impressive.
2 of the 3. And
was-
I'm glad I was.
He was swayed on Lovecraft and Wizards.
And Wizards,
We
yes.
couldn't sway him on Star Trek.
Wait, so
Yeah.
you went in last week with Lovecraft Country, season episode 2, and you thought it was bad?
My issues were that I didn't enjoy it as much because it felt like 2 seasons worth of events in one episode, and it was just so much happening that I could not digest it all in my brain. So to me, my enjoyment of it was a bit less than I would have wanted, and I think it was just because it felt stuffed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's partly why I didn't like it either.
Last week?
Last week, also, it just felt, I don't know if it was the television I was watching on.
Oh, that's
It
right.
just looked visually not the same as what we got from episode 1, where it was this, like, that opening to me, we're 3 episodes in, that opening is still the best thing I've seen of the show visually so far, just because of how they did it with utilizing old footage, color blending, just cinematography, everything about that was just great. I didn't really get that sense in episode 2. And then in episode 3 is weird, but it's not as weird. And I don't know if I like that or dislike that. I think the one theme that has stuck throughout the entire 3 episodes is that racists are scarier than anything else.
Than magic.
Like, this thing had full-on horror in terms of, like, these, deformed ghosts with blood and guts.
Really interesting ghosts.
But,
We'll
like,
get to that.
Baby head.
The baby head one, like, and those things, usually that's supposed to be horrifying and scary. But the thing that was horrifying and scary, again, like we talked about with the first episode, was the racists,
Of course.
the burning of the cross, the white people with the horns on the cars and standing there.
I
Like,
do have a question about
Yeah.
that. Wouldn't the horns also be a nuisance to all the other neighbors as well?
you would,
I'm just saying. No,
would
I'm
think
just
that.
saying.
they
right?
were closer to the house that they were staying
What
in.
about the people next door and the people across the street? Like, if they weren't part of it, they're like, oh god.
Listen, man, they're doing it for a cause, okay? They were doing it for the cause of driving out black people.
Wow,
So, I'm being sarcastic.
I know you are.
Obviously. No, you hit the nail on the head, and I think that's why I liked episode 1 so much, was because that the racism was scarier than the magic.
the vampires.
Yeah. What I liked about this episode, I'm just going to come off the bat and say my favorite part. My favorite part is these ghosts, and specifically Babyhead. I mean, that is an I love. It's going to sound weird, but I like it when babies are used in a creepy way. Do you remember 2001: Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
The giant star
Yeah,
child.
of course.
There's something so disturbing about that. It's still that is an iconic image in my brain.
Oh, Toy
because
Story.
it's a star baby.
Toy Story with the baby on the spider
Yes,
head.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
Babies,
another one.
and it sounds weird, but babies are terrifying when used that way, and the impact is just really strong. Putting a baby's head on a grown man's body and as a ghost, who's also talking.
Yeah.
To me, that was just like that's
Well,
the most,
there's a
most
little
memorable
so
part.
there's
of
a little
this.
backstory to that. Spoiler alert:
Yeah.
the guy who owned the house was a part
racist.
of. It was a racist, and he was a part of the Sons of Adam.
Yes.
Someone that was kind of excommunicated from the group
A
because
scientist.
he wanted
Or-
to further his own ambitions. And I don't. You guys might have missed this reference, but the tests he was running on people
Experiments, yeah.
with the experiments were about time travel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why
There's deformities
the
like that.
deformities like that. The deformity of the baby on the head of a grown man.
I'm glad you said that because I thought he was doing experiments where he cut off a baby's head and sewed it onto
Yep.
that body. So that's a little better
Yeah, I
than
did
what
that-
I was imagining.
I did too. Like when
Yeah.
I watched it, that was what we thought. We were like, oh, like he's like mutilating bodies.
Yeah.
Which he probably still was.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
he's a sicko.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you hit the nail on the head, though. The racism is, and I think that's the point of this show, right? We got that very clearly from episode 1, so like none of that is too surprising. What I did really like as well is that it was a lot less going on. It was one fairly easy to follow
Cohesive story, yeah.
and also it reminds me of like an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, like this, like obviously much more mature than that. Do you remember like those Nickelodeon or Nick at Night television show, like Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that. It's like a ghost story, of course, with all these adult themes.
You know what it
going on.
reminded me of? It reminded me of CBS's new Twilight Zone.
I was gonna say that, especially that end shot.
That was what I got.
With the elevator going all the way to the basement, and then seeing all the racists dead down there, and then as the lights were coming up, you saw more skeletons. Obviously, we're jumping all over the place here, but that scene at the very end, those skeletons, are those other racists or just other people in general?
I feel like there were probably other people. Could those be the bodies of the 8 dead?
There's way more than 8
There
down
was
there.
more of an 8.
Sure,
I think.
but so I'm assuming it's everyone, right? It could be the 8 dead, African Americans.
I took it as this house has a lot of secrets, and the house, even though they rid themselves of these ghosts, there is still some type of possession in the house. Like the house is possessed and protecting itself by putting those bodies in the basement, right? Because Letty says like, "What 3 missing guys?" Like maybe unless she's a great actress and was pretending she didn't know. I didn't get that sense.
That's what I
yeah.
assumed, right? Because
that the house is hiding these bodies.
no, I got the sense that she and Tick did it. Because,
I didn't get that sense at all.
Because what else? Of course, they're gonna hide the bodies. Like you can't
Yeah.
have 3 white men in your house and then not get arrested for
Right.
it, especially when you're black.
Yeah.
Right. So I assumed she was, and she kind of like flipped her hair. So to me, it seemed like she was a little not uncomfortable. She was clearly hiding it. So I just assumed. I love that idea though. The house is doing it. I'm just not sure if that's definitive.
The reason I got that is because the elevator moves by itself again, so I assume that the
Sure.
elevator is still possessed,
Sure.
right? And that's the possession.
Yeah, maybe.
That was my assumption.
Or if the default setting for the elevator is the ground floor.
the creepy basement.
Yeah,
Or
like it returns there when no one's calling it.
the tomb.
the tomb that
The tomb. Yeah.
So obviously, like Arjun was saying, the original owner was a member of the Sons of Adam. It's obviously clear Sons of Adam is kind of the storyline through this whole thing. Atticus is a descendant of the main guy of the Sons of Adam. He obviously, at the very end of the episode, he goes and he discovers Christina, who it's clear Christina decided to cause a family rift for Letty and her family by providing the money from the mother
under the pretense
of the mother, which, by the way, ultimate dick move. Like, clearly Letty's having issues with her brother and her older sister, and then all this money shows up. And obviously she's using it to go buy this house. This money, did she have the money then? She got that money within that 3-week period of episode 2 and 3?
That's what I assume. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
Makes
the question to me is, did Christina tell her to buy the house?
I think there's a lot of influence. There's a lot of stuff that's happening, and I think like the Sons of Adam and Christina are really influencing what's going on with this family, because you go back to episode 2 and the throwaway line from Uncle George that like, oh well, he may be my son, right?
No, it was he might not be yours. He didn't say. He doesn't say. He might be
but
my son.
it's implied it could be Uncle George's son, right? There's an implication there, and where does that come from? That comes potentially from the vision that he had, where he saw his deceased lover, who we don't know, who could potentially be Tick's mom. And so they're influencing stuff. They're influencing these certain types of things, right? And I think it's the same thing here. They're trying to influence not just their personal lives, but like the ultimate goal. There's also, this is kind of I don't know if you guys noticed this, but halfway through the episode, you remember the Aunt Hippolyta?
Yeah, the wife, right?
Yeah, so she goes up to one of the rooms on the top floor, and there's this big type of
Oh, that's right.
what's it called? An ornery?
Yeah,
It's like a
thingy.
It's like the solar system,
yeah,
right?
it's a stargazing thing, right?
Yeah.
If you notice at the end of the episode when the racists come in, they go into that same room.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yep.
And she's like known as a stargazer and stuff. So now you have to wonder, like, Christina wanted that house. She wanted potentially this character to go there, potentially to get that artifact for a specific reason. So I think there's a lot of strings being pulled, not just on Tick, but this entire family, and this entire group of people, for whatever I think Christina's nefarious
her
plans
spell.
are. Yeah,
I think she's clearly trying to put together this powerful spell.
Well, and that's my question to you guys: is she good or is she evil?
She's
because
evil.
episode 2, you get more good vibes, but this, right at the end, you definitely get bad vibes.
She was bad in episode 2. I think she's clearly out for herself. She's got her own plans, her own agenda. That's maybe separate from the Sons of Adam, but I don't think they're still nefarious. They're still, they're still not great. She clearly wants what she wants, and she's willing to manipulate other people. How good can you be?
So Christina also at the end of the episode, Atticus goes looking for her. He holds a gun out to her, and he clearly wants to either threaten or actually shoot her to get her away from his family. And she gives this whole spiel about how her father had a spell, the immortality spell.
Yeah.
I'm assuming she has it now, or does she have some kind of other spell that prevents
Well, it sounds like she wants the whole tamale, right? So she's talking about getting the entire book or in the cipher or whatever to get the whole thing. I don't know if she has the invulnerability spell or whatever it was, but it sounds like she's after a lot more than just that anyway.
I would assume that she does because I think she's been alive for a while, I would assume. Just based off of the conversations in episode 2 where Adam had seemed to be alive for a long time. I'm sure he passed it down or shared it or something with the spell. What I find interesting is there's a line that she says where it's like, most are lucky to kind of come up with one spell or, invent one spell. Do we think by the end of this season we see Tick come up with a spell? Potentially a resurrection.
Yeah, I think he is, and I think he's going to try and or he's going to attempt the long play prediction or whatever for the season. Yeah, he's going to come up and try and figure out a resurrection spell for his uncle, for Uncle George. Speaking of Uncle George, and then obviously his brother Montrose, played by obviously Michael Kenneth Williams. We didn't see a whole lot of him this episode, just more brooding and being kind of annoyed and drinking himself silly.
Well, just more development. We see the relationship between him and his son Tick, and it's not very good at all.
It's not great.
It's not great. We saw a little bit with him and Hippolyta coming by the house to teach his niece how to swing the bat and everything. So I think what I like about this show is there's a lot of seeds being planted for stuff as it's going on, and I think that was a lot of his character this week in terms of here's where he's at, because he's clearly him and Tick are of the main characters. I guess Aunt Hippolyta is the main character, but of the characters we've seen the majority in these first 3 episodes, they're obviously hugely affected by the death. That's his brother. He held him in his arms as he died, and he's clearly not taking it well. So you just kind of have to wonder, because he clearly has dealt with a lot of pain in his life. So is there going to be more tragedy that befalls this character?
And the answer is yes.
Oh.
I honestly, when we went into this episode, I honestly thought, and I kind of ruined this for myself, but whatever. I honestly thought that Letty, June Smolt's character,
Jordyin Smollett.
Wow, not even close, Robin. Jesus. Jordyin Smollett. I'm terrible at names, so I'm just gonna give up.
Call her Journey.
So Letty's character, I actually thought she was going to die in this episode
again.
And actually stay dead this time because Uncle George, I thought he was going to be throughout the entire series, but then I pulled up IMDb, and the more I'm looking at IMDb, the more I'm like, I should really stop looking, because there's another piece in here where I'm like, wow, just kind of ruined that for myself. So that's great.
You can see how many episodes are in?
Yep.
Yeah.
I could tell you if you guys want.
IMDb is not always official. So,
That's true.
So IMDb is a generally good indicator, but there's been a lot of red herrings.
Would you guys like to hear the one that I saw?
Sure.
So, and once again, for those listening, watching, big spoiler here for Lovecraft Country. But supposedly, according to IMDb, the actor that plays Uncle George, so Courtney B. Vance, He's listed as 7 episodes, which would mean this episode, which we didn't see him in, would be the episode he's obviously not listed as. And then the 4th episode, supposedly he's going to return. Or it could very well be a flashback too.
Well, is there 8 or 10 episodes in the show?
I believe it's 8 because Atticus is listed for 8, Letty's listed for 8, some other ones are listed for 8. I think it's only 8 episodes.
I don't think he's going to come back alive. I think there's going to be a lot of teases. There's going to be the characters trying to bring him back through supernatural means, but I don't think he's coming back as alive or in the same way, or for very long if he does come back.
Speaking of George, we got to talk about the Ouija board. What did that spell out? It was George, and then what was the second?
Is dead?
No, I have the
No, it was a different word. It was like George, because they typed it out on the Ouija board, right? It was George.
I thought it was George is dead.
I believe it. So this comes from theguardian.com, but one of the notes they have it in here is quote is unsettled by that Ouija board scene. Emmett Till was indeed from Chicago and was lynched in Mississippi in late August 1955. So did it spell out Emmett Till?
Oh, maybe.
I thought it spelled out George because the daughter freaks out.
Yeah.
The
first
George's
word is
daughter.
George.
George's daughter is like that's not funny.
Because they ask like, who is this George, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, was there a question after that?
I thought it just said George is dead. That's what I thought it said.
Yeah, I didn't think it said that, because I don't know why.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah. Anyways, George is in the house.
So the other question that I had for everyone was, episode 1, you're kind of introduced into this world of, racism, magic, spaceships,
What a
Cthulhu,
combination.
Cthulhu, war, all of it. Episode 2 kind of flipped itself on the head a little bit, where it was all about magic, but just hardcore magic racism. Episode 3 kind of got a little bit more normal in the sense of the characters are moving on with their lives, but there's this higher power, this other thing that's kind of influencing them, which is the Sons of Adam, essentially. Do we think the show is kind of finding its place now in terms of, not that we can expect what's going to happen week over week, but do we think are we seeing the formula being laid out, or is this going to go kind of the route of Westworld, where it's that's scientific, by the way.
I think this show is kind of presenting like a classic story, right? If it is 8 episodes, I think you have your rising action. You kind of have like the 3 or the 5 plot points, like the big turns is what they call them. And I think like your first 2 episodes, you had kind of the situation, you had the turn, and I think you're kind of being set up for another turn potentially in episode 4, right? I don't think this show is ever going to settle you into like, this is how it's going to be. I think you're seeing kind of like, here's this event that happened to these people and this is what happens, right? So like these characters have been introduced to this world of magic, and now we're seeing like what the end result is essentially from that.
Right.
Because this episode, to me, I heard from a lot of people like, oh my God, is this show going to be insane every single week? I'm like, I mean, stories generally aren't that way, right? You always have kind of the calm before every storm, right? So you have the big event, and then you have kind of the regroup episode, and this was kind of the regroup episode.
Still nuts.
Still nuts,
yeah.
But there's still a chance to kind of reset where you were. The reason they had that time jump is to see how the characters have kind of reacted, where they're at from this big event, and then I think you're going to get another big event, essentially, to kind of propel the characters forward more.
Or another time jump, potentially?
Yeah, potentially, for sure.
Okay, I like that. Krishna?
Predictions?
Yeah.
Pain.
Nice. Krishna, was Lovecraft Country, Season 1, Episode 3, good?
Yes, it was. It was good. I actually really enjoyed this episode. I liked it because it was, even though it is progressing the story of these main characters, at its heart, the episode by itself was a classic ghost story, which I really liked. And I have a feeling they'll probably do more of that as we go on. We get some classic, maybe it'll be a classic alien story or a classic, classic story, but that's still intertwined with the larger plot overall.
Yeah, I am waiting for aliens. That would be cool.
Yeah.
There has to be aliens because we saw that in the intro. And
I
they
hope
are
so.
not aliens, and we're very upset.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like, I will cry.
Yeah.
I need aliens, man.
Arjuna.
Skip me.
Wait, you asked me? Arjuna, was Lovecraft Country, Season 1, Episode 3, good?
It was good. I would say it's the second best episode of the series, behind Episode 1. but ahead of episode 2.
Nice.
But they're all very good. I think
Nice.
the whole show has been really good so far.
We agree finally.
Wow.
excited for
Wow. I agree with that order, too. And yes, it was good.
Nice.
I think. Hold
Boom.
on. Ravi was Lovecraft, season 1, episode 3, Rise of Cthulhu. Good.
Is that what it was called? It was not called Rise of Cthulhu.
I got you guys going though.
Oh, you did. You did. It's actually called Holy Ghost.
Holy Ghost.
That makes
yes.
sense.
Very. You know what the next episode is called? It's called History of Violence.
Oh, that's
That's the actual. Yeah,
That's the thing.
that's the actual book, isn't it?
I think they're all based in some way of like a book.
Yeah.
Anyway, to answer Arjuna's question in these times, yes, it was good. It was good. Those watching again, if you have any questions, comments on Lovecraft, or we're about to jump into the newest Marvel movie. I'm going to jump around here on the outline, guys. The newest Marvel movie, New Mutants. If you have any questions, hit us in the chat. We will answer them, maybe, if you're lucky. Probably not. So anyway, Arjuna and his girlfriend Sahara, because we have to, for whatever reason, always say that, I guess.
She was actually on the podcast, and Christian made the joke in the podcast last week.
Wow.
That about the infamous.
I was
joke.
like, Sahara, Arjuna's girlfriend.
Interesting. Anyway, we should probably stop doing that because she's more than just Arjuna's girlfriend. She is a more interesting person than Arjuna. So, but then again, my cat is more interesting than Arjuna. So,
Wow, thank you.
you're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Anyway, so Arjuna and Sahara got to experience and finally see the New Mutants,
Is it
a
4
film,
years?
a film
Wow.
that had what? They had script issues, they had budget issues, they had distribution issues. There was a merger, there was a pandemic. Everything to stop that movie from coming out, I think, has happened
Yeah.
under probably. Short of like the entire movie being erased off of a hard drive.
Before,
Hell, that probably did happen.
and it's so funny that you mentioned all that because before we asked Juna about his experience, we should mention that according to online reviews and Rotten Tomatoes, it's dog shit, which is not surprising, like considering what it's been through.
Yeah.
So anyway, Juna, you give us now
Arjuna-
your unbiased and untainted review.
Arjuna, before you get into the actual movie, so Arjuna actually got, and I think this needs to be addressed, and it is important to address this.
Oh God.
Arjuna was able to see the movie not because he went to one of the many dumb-ass AMC theaters that have reopened. He got to see the movie because he did a drive-in at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
Yeah.
So he was in the safety of his car. Drive-in drive-in theaters, they're on the rise again because of the current climate and situation that we live in. So he was able to see it that way. So I have two main questions.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really care about the story at all. I'm more interested in your experience
Absolutely.
because this movie was made for an IMAX. There is an IMAX cut of this.
Yep.
This was color graded, sound graded to be experienced in the theater.
Yes.
How was it a movie, a brand new air quote movie?
Yep.
In the current cinema age, how was that experience visually and sound?
So the Rose Bowl kind of is cheating, I would say, in terms of it's not the stereotypical drive-in experience. Because I have been to a couple of drive-ins. I've been to Mission Tiki, which is further east. I've also went to the Paramount. The Vineland drive-in. And those are more classic drive-ins that are just kind of standard screens. You get your sunspots, all that type of stuff. It's not a great image. The one at the Rose Bowl is a beautiful screen. Like, the color is beautiful. The screen is so good, they do showings during the day because you can see the screen really well. It's super high def. It's 4K. Visually, the movie's great, right? The only issue with drive-in theaters, and this is for film snobs, is the sound design. Because you're just getting your sound through your car speakers, which it's fine if you have good car speakers. If you've got a Bose system or a surround system in your car, you're getting a pretty good experience. But you guys know that I have a
You took your car.
I have a very standard car.
Why did you take your car?
Does Sahara have a newer car?
Yeah.
No, her car is technically older than mine.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Why didn't you just ask for me for my car?
I could have. I should.
You should have because my
You have a nice
speakers
sound system, don't you?
way better.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's good to know.
Yeah.
But so my speakers are okay. They're just standard. But even with that, the movie experience is fun because we saw two other movies at the Rose Bowl. Wonder Woman, the original Wonder Woman, the one that came out a few years ago, not the original, and Inside Man. And visually, the movies look great. They look beautiful on that screen. So I would say visually, I didn't lose anything. And like, it's if you can get the screen quality that's at the Rose Bowl, it's great because that screen, like, that's how you should do it.
And how much did you pay?
For this one, I think it was $35.
And that's just the car, right?
Yeah, that's the car.
So if all of us had gone,
Yeah.
still $35.
Yeah, if
But-
everyone piled into the car.
Yep.
The issue with drive-ins and like filling up the car, the nice thing about drive-ins is you could fill up the car, but then you used to be able to just kind of come out of the car and sit next to it. You can't do that because they're not letting people out of their cars really. So you can really only fit like 2, maybe 3 maximum into the car. Because if you fill up 5 people, the people in the back are just gonna be like,
You're looking at the back. Yeah, you're looking at the back of people's heads.
Exactly. So you can really only fit like 2 in the front, the front seats, and maybe someone in the middle, kind of looking into the middle. But
So
it's still not it's not a horrible price, especially to see a new movie. It's $20. Like I don't know if New Mutants is VOD. I think that's one of the few that is not. But it's like $20 anyway for VOD. I don't, if you have a nice setup at home and you don't want the hassle to drive all the way out there, like, I wouldn't say it's, significantly better than like if you have a nice screen and a nice sound system at home, but it's still like a nice way to get out and do something. Yeah,
Nice.
it's good.
So in terms of some of the content, obviously New Mutants, we've waited 3 years. Christian and I are probably going to wait a lot longer and or just not bother at this point. The big one, how's it fit in the X-Men timeline? And actually, let's take a step back first. Who are the mutants? There's 4 of them, correct?
There's 5 of them.
5 of them.
One of them is the sister of Colossus. I've never heard of any of these mutants before because I'm not familiar personally with the New Mutants comic book.
Colossa?
No, she has her ability is like her arm kind of turns metal. She has like this soul sword and she can kind of like teleport through this different reality. She has a really cool power. The main character has like this dreaming ability where people's dreams kind of turn into real things.
That's cool.
There's another character who's basically who's the character in Fantastic Four, the Flame guy, Johnny Flame.
Human Torch.
The Human Torch. He's basically a knockoff of Human Torch.
Nice. So we get knockoffs.
His body turns into flames. There's one guy, his name is Cannonball. He just says, like, he basically vibrates and then he just, like, shoots out a bunch of energy and, like, moves really fast and destroys everything in its path.
It's a terrible name.
And then you have Maisie Williams' character. I don't know if they ever called her. I think her character, like, the superhero name is, like, Wolfbane, but she just turns into a wolf.
I'm sorry, what?
She turns into a direwolf?
She turns into a wolf.
That's okay.
That's her power.
So interesting.
She's like a werewolf.
So interesting power. So obviously it's in the it's supposed to be in the X-Men universe. Does it actually fit in our, old?
There is one reference to the X-Men in this, and the plot of the movie is you have these 5 kids. They're essentially in this kind of institute run by this one lady who claims she's a doctor. They're kind of restricted though because she's also a mutant. She has this this shield around them, and she's like, my employer, which is the Essex Corporation, and if that sounds familiar, it's referenced in, I want to say, either X-Men Apocalypse or Logan. And it's supposed to tie into Mr. Sinister.
That's what I was going to say. I remember it from the 1990s X-Men series.
They actually referenced it in the last few X-Men movies that had come out, but they never really followed through because their plans kind of died. So the Essex Corporation is what's kind of keeping them. And she's like, oh, you get better. We move you on. And there's one scene where they're like trying to guess like who's her employer. And then they're like, isn't it obvious? It's like... And then someone points their head and it's like, the X-Men, right? So the X-Men are known in this universe. So, they know about Professor Xavier. They know about the X-Men and the X-Institute.
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's like the X-Men that we're familiar with, like, Patrick Stewart.
Xavier and stuff. It's so vague in general. Like, it could fit into that. It could fit into Disney's MCU plans for the X-Men if you wanted to, right?
Or hear me out. It bombed so badly, they'll never mention or talk about it again.
It's never going to be mentioned or talked about or referenced again.
I have a question for you.
Sure, go
If
ahead.
you're finished with your current point.
Yeah.
This movie the trailer looked interesting because it looked like it was the first true superhero horror movie.
Yes.
Was it scary?
No.
Did you have to cover your eyes once?
No, I didn't.
Did you cover your ears?
No.
So it
Cover
was
your
not.
nose.
It was not. It was not scary at all. So Gina, was this false advertising?
Yeah. So I actually read a little bit about the background of the movie, and the reason that first trailer was so horrifying when it came out in 2017. There's a very specific reason. Do you remember the movie that came out right around that time when that first trailer dropped?
Hell no, I don't.
In 2017?
Yes. It
Deadpool.
Chapter 1.
Oh,
And
interesting.
the horror, and because that trailer and that movie was so horrifying, they wanted to bank on
The horror.
the horror thing. So
Interesting.
they hired a specific trailer house to cut a horror trailer.
That's just false
And
advertising.
that's what led to the delays of this movie. Because then Fox was like, okay, we need to recut this movie and make it more horror-esque. And then they had these extensive reshoots that was going to reshoot over half the movie to make it more horrifying. Those reshoots never happened because they couldn't get the actors' availability. Then you had the merger. And then the director, Josh Boone, was like, fuck it, these actors look completely different. Because it's been 2 years and they were young to begin with.
Yeah, because Maisie Williams was like 15, 16 when this was shot.
She wasn't. Yeah, you could tell she's really young.
She's like season 3 Arya Stark.
Yeah,
she's like season 4 or season 5 Arya Stark age, and you're like, oh, this is an old movie.
Yeah.
But honestly, the movie didn't look old, right? Like it didn't feel dated. Like the coloring was great. Like it looked like a modern 2020 movie. The issue with the movie was it was 90 minutes.
which is
How's that a problem? It feels like
perfect.
you want to get out of there as quick as
You know,
possible.
no,
Yeah.
in terms of introducing 5 characters with these different superhero powers, 90 minutes is no time to develop anything or anyone. And you got like these just small like little snippets of these characters, and it was just like completely boiled down. And I think one review said like, here's a movie about 5 mutants with the most uninteresting powers possible. And it's kind of true. Like there's nothing interesting about the characters. There's nothing interesting about the movie. It's literally like 5 kids in an asylum escape. That's the movie. That's the movie. That's it.
So
it's the
sounds like a waste of time.
I mean, if it's free and you're drinking some milk, maybe if you're drinking milk, it
Really?
could be a
No,
maybe-
it doesn't. It
might
sounds
be a little
bad.
scary.
You
It
should
sounds
because
bad.
they
you should
do-
never ever drink milk. And what you shouldn't drink milk. Full stop. All right. You eat milk.
The hell? The fuck?
But anyway,
What, cheese?
But what I'm saying is, the only thing that could have been horrifying, and I read a little bit about this, is one of the nightmares of the characters is the these Slenderman-looking guys.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
And apparently they actually got Marilyn Manson to voice the Slenderman to make the monster noises of
Mhm.
it.
That was
They could have been more horrifying, but they looked really cheesy.
Mm.
The CGI definitely looked a little cheesy there.
I love like when corporate interests are like, we made a movie. Oh look, Chapter 1 is doing real good. Let's cut a trailer that look like that.
It's
oh, no.
called
oh, no.
Pivot.
Oh no, the reception to the trailer is better than we were expecting. We have to change the whole movie now. Oh wait, what? I mean, come on.
Pivot.
Just like have a vision and go through with it.
So, Arjuna, would you say was New Mutants good?
Despite my glowing review, it was not good.
Wow, I'm shocked.
It was not good.
I'm
Big
gonna say it
shocker.
was good. I'm gonna say.
Christian,
Go ahead,
you
put me down
didn't
for
see it.
yes.
You didn't see it.
You having a terrible time is always a good thing.
Thank you.
Just kidding.
I think that's one of those. I forget who told me this, but where we'll eventually hit that superhero fatigue.
Oh, we haven't hit it yet?
we've hit it. we hit it like over and over and over again.
We've been talking about that on multiple podcasts
for years.
Yes,
I
about
I think for
superhero
4
fatigue.
years.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one I don't think I'd personally bother seeing at all. So
Yeah, I think
Sounds terrible.
I
It's
hit
not-
the nail on that. It'd have to be like on TBS. You know.
TBS.
Do people watch TBS anymore?
I don't know.
Yes.
Don't they have like free movies? What was that? TNT? I don't know. One of those. One of
TV.
those.
It's not free if you have to pay for the
Maybe
subscription
Spike
of the TV.
No, I have Hulu. Hulu
Yeah,
gets
but
all those.
it's not free. You're paying for Hulu.
Yeah, but
So it's not
paying
a free movie.
I'm paying Hulu for my sports. So if Mutants came out on Hulu, for me it's free.
No,
Because I'm paying for Hulu.
You're
for something
paying.
else.
You're paying for that Hulu. You're paying for that New Mutants movie.
Nah, get
You
out
should.
of
You
here.
should cancel
Get
your
out.
Hulu subscription.
Get out.
Just saying.
Leave.
It will be on Disney Plus at some point, I assume.
No, it won't.
I'm good. I'm good. It's fine. I don't need to watch it.
Yeah.
Moving right along to something that actually surprised me this week. Star
Yeah,
Trek
me
Lower
too.
Decks,
Me too.
episode
Why
4.
did it surprise you?
We'll see.
You'll see.
Yeah.
Episode 4, moist vessel. Bet everyone loves that word. Moist.
Moist.
This, by the way, this podcast was sponsored by Moist Towelettes. No, I'm kidding.
Ooh.
But Star Trek Lower Decks has finally presented an episode that I actually enjoyed and didn't feel
Wait.
like Star Trek Lower Decks was just, the Star Trek version of Family Guy.
Wait a minute. So I went in last week and I said Lower Decks was bad.
Yes.
Would you have said last week's was bad?
I don't even remember it, so yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious. I want to see how close how well I did being Ravi last week. And it sounds like I did pretty good. I liked this episode.
I don't believe you.
And here's why.
You watched it 20 minutes before this podcast.
I watched it 6 hours. No. 8 hours. No. 9 hours before this podcast.
Wow.
And I liked it because it hit on some things that I actually find interesting, like spirituality and like the universe being a big thing. And I love it when things make fun of that stuff because to me, I actually think it's hilarious. And they nailed it. Like the best part is when Jake
From State Farm?
from State Farm? No, Tom?
Whatever that character. The red shirt.
Yeah. Well,
Even though he wasn't a red
even though
shirt.
it's the Ascension guy, when he ascends, that is the best scene in Lower Decks so far.
And horrifying.
Because it's horrifying. He's like, it burns. And he's like, I see everything. I have everything. And he's like, wait, why is there a giant koala bear? Why is he smiling at me? What do you know? Oh, it
And
was
then
so
becomes
brilliant.
part of everything.
Yeah, it's so brilliant. It's so great.
So I just love
loved
how,
it. I loved it.
because Rabbi knows this, he's a Star Trek fan like
Yeah.
myself. But Ascension is a big part of
yeah.
Next Generation onwards, right? Like
please give me some give me some memorable ascensions from regular Star
So
Trek.
the biggest one has to be Cisco from Deep Space
He
Nine.
ascends?
He ascends.
Yeah.
He goes with the magical wormhole gods or whatever. And now I'm sitting here going like when he ascends or he dies or goes or whatever, there's a moment in Deep Space Nine where he's like saying goodbye to his son, saying goodbye to his like then wife or whatever, or his current wife at the time, like saying goodbye to certain crew members. Is like, but is he like doing that and then also screaming in agony and pain, like? Or is like different levels depending on where you're ascending and who you're ascending with.
I thought it was and this is gonna sound really weird, but I've actually read about the quote unquote Enlightenment experience here in the real world in like different cultures, and it's almost universally panned as being very painful. So it's supposed to be like your spine and your nervous system basically
Melt.
get fried. This is a version of whatever Enlightenment is, right? You basically you fry your nervous system.
Oh, so
and you're
Dr.
never-
Manhattan.
And you're never the same again. Yeah, kind of. It's another thing. So it's very interesting that almost universally it's considered a very painful, not a pleasant experience.
That's interesting that you bring up the spinal system
And
the nervous system.
Yeah.
So I personally don't know this, but if you do acid, LSD,
Yes.
those types of drugs, they actually get pieces of the chemicals or whatever get stuck in your spinal system.
Well,
And-
focus in your brain too.
And
Yeah.
sometimes if you crack your back or something like that, you can like get like a mini trip, which I always thought was horrifying. So
Yeah. There's something. I mean, but on a very basic level, our entire reality, just on a scientific level.
oh
right?
god, here we go.
Well, no, it's like your senses
Yes.
and your nervous system dictate how you see and feel everything.
Right.
So on a very biomechanical level, if you change something there,
Yeah.
you're going to perceive everything very differently. On a very basic level, that makes sense. If you if you cut one of your spinal things, guess what? You're not going to be able to feel anything from the waist down.
Ricky, you can walk.
Yeah, exactly. You know. So I loved it. I loved that he was like, even though it was kind of horrifying.
Yes.
Like, yeah, no.
Koala
I'm
was
like, no,
great.
that tracks.
It
That tracks.
also reminded me of Stargate because Ascension is a big part of the
Yes,
Yeah.
I heard it in
lore.
Stargate.
Yes.
And
yeah.
it's quite honestly a big part of a lot of sci-fi,
Sci-fi.
shows, and lores and continuities. And I thought this episode really nailed the spoof part of like making fun of Ascension and sci-fi and that kind of cop-out type of mentality where he's like, I want it to be like my thing. And you can almost, it was meta, right? Because it's like writers, when they kind of get stuck in sci-fi, is like, what should we do with this character? We don't want to kill them. Oh, we're going to make them ascend. Yeah. Like, that's what happened with Stargate with Daniel Jackson, because they had a contract dispute with the actor who played him. So we're like, well, we don't want to kill him off, but we can't have him around. Oh, we can have him ascend. Yeah. It's great sci-fi, great secret stuff.
So yeah, the Ascensions thing I thought was hilarious because like Arjuna said, that's a big Star Trek sci-fi thing. The Generation ship, I thought that was a super cool, interesting, just piece of Star Trek lore and history where they find this Generation ship where they've got some kind of chemical that when it touches metal, will like. What was it? It grows organic, essentially, which is super, super, super cool. There's that piece, and then there's also the other piece, which goes back to the whole idea of like the second rate, or like the B team, the C team, going and like basically moving stuff. The other commander wanted to be better off than the main commander of the where's their ship?
Cerritos.
The Cerritos.
Which so all these names, the ships, Sahara pointed this out to me, are California towns.
Really? This makes sense.
Yeah, they're all like California towns or like American.
That makes sense.
Like American states or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
That's funny.
Interesting.
But no, overall it was a fun episode.
It was.
It definitely didn't feel like something you just kind of put on and forget. Like you actually you didn't have to pay attention, but it was like fun, interesting. The other big thing is like we got a lot more of the mother-daughter relationship for Mariner, basically bumping her up to lieutenant.
Trying to get her to quit.
Trying to get her to quit by
transfer.
Yeah, which I thought was hilarious.
So one thing I'm a little confused about. Does the captain's commanding staff know that Mariner is the captain's daughter?
I think so because the second in command,
the commander,
the commander, he made they were talking about Mariner, and he made some kind of comment or something, and there was like a moment where they each gave each other like an eye look or something, or something like that. So I think they're aware.
Right, because we obviously know that the other main characters don't know.
No.
Yes.
That
the lower decks don't know.
The lower decks don't know that Mariner is the daughter.
Because that'll piss off, what's his face?
Yeah.
Brad, isn't it? Ensign Brad?
I forget what his name is.
Yeah, the purple hair guy.
Yeah. I think it's Ensign Brad Boimer.
Yeah, Boimer.
Boyner.
Played by Jack Quaid.
Dennis Quaid's son.
Is that really Dennis Quaid's son?
Yeah, he's also in The Boys. He's the main character in The Boys.
Oh, that's right.
Wait,
that's Dennis Quaid's kid?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
It's just a younger, thinner version of him.
Yeah.
Aren't we all just a younger, thinner version of
I think
our parents?
Meg Ryan is his mom.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I didn't know they even had a kid.
They had a kid, and his name was Jack. Jack Quaid.
Jack Ryan?
Jack Quaid.
And then the voice of Mariner is the
Tawny Newsome.
Yeah, who was the pilot in Space Force.
I'm gonna say right now she's way better in Lower Decks because Space Force as a whole is garbage.
So you can't get past anything.
I cannot get past.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall I think good stuff. Hopefully they can continue pushing it along and giving us more episodes like this.
We only have 6 episodes.
Yeah. So we just need 6 great episodes and I'll be happy.
But June, am I saying this right?
Yeah, I know. So, just those listening and watching, we usually have an outline going.
Oh, why did I put
where we put like if we say it's good or not, and Arjuna put no.
He already put his
no.
Decks.
I meant to put that under New Mutants. That was
no, that's subliminally.
Yeah,
unconsciously.
Why didn't you like it, Arjuna?
No, I did. Bad. I really liked this episode. It was somewhere between the first and the 4th best episode of Decks.
Oh, it's pretty good.
It's in the top 5, that's for sure.
It's in the top 10 of the season.
Is it top 20 though? I don't know.
So Arjuna was Lower Decks, season 1, episode 4. Good.
You know, despite what I just said, I'm gonna have to say yes.
Wow,
It
I'm
was good.
shocked.
I enjoyed it, and keep the meta references because that's I think especially with animated shows in today's world, like meta references and just kind of building off of yourself is what is a successful cartoon, and I think this show's doing that pretty well. Ravi, was the Lower Decks season 1, episode 4 good?
Let's you should ask me again. Remember the episode name is Star Trek Lower Decks, and the episode is titled Moist Vessels. I'm only doing this to actually annoy a particular user listening.
I think I know who.
Because they hate that word moist.
Moist.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, thank you.
Was Star Trek Lower Decks season 1, episode 4 moist? Wait, what was it? Moist
Vessel.
All right, I'll start again.
I couldn't get
No,
past moist.
just hurry.
Moist vessels.
There we go.
Good.
Yes, it was good. Christian, was Star Trek Lower Decks Moist Vessel good?
Moist vessel or moist vessels?
Moist Vessel.
Oh, one moist vessel?
Was it two moist?
It was one
Is
moist
it moist
vessel.
eye?
It was remember that the moist vessel was only that one generation ship.
Oh,
it was
right,
very
right, right.
moist because it was spewing moist chemicals everywhere.
Actually, real quick,
Oh.
were the people in the pods in the generation ship dead?
They were
Stasis?
in stasis.
So does that mean they're dead?
No, they're in stasis.
Yeah, but they said they were zombified.
they said mummified.
Yeah, so that mummified would mean you were dead.
I think it was just a fun term.
I want to see what happens to them. Spinoff.
I want to see what race it is.
Klingon.
Could be.
Probably not.
Anyway, Christian, was it good?
It was good.
Excellent.
It was.
Excellent.
But what? Hey guys, real quick, let's go back around and ask if the episode was moist.
enough.
Oh, man.
Oh, okay. Before we get out of here, we have obviously our batch of Was It News and a couple of fun things. We're kind of going a little 80s, 90s on this news here. Let's start with the 80s content. Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger, our father's idol, is going to start a new TV show. When is that man going to learn to retire and just enjoy his life?
His career has fallen to a new low if he's doing TV. I'm just saying.
No way.
or
What do you mean?
he's realizing that everyone's watching TV shows, air quotes.
So
or
there's
he's trying to capture on the Cobra Kai train,
well,
where you remake 80s things.
so there's no network has been announced for this show. He's just been announced to be the co-lead, where he is playing a grandfather.
I'm sorry.
Terminator?
He's playing a grandfather?
Yes,
That's insane.
That's
he is a grandfather now. He does have grandchildren, grandchild, maybe one.
Great grandkids?
I know Chris Pratt and his daughter Catherine Schwarzenegger had a child together.
Are you sure?
Are you sure
Yes.
he's playing a grandfather? Because it says here, created by Scorpion creator Nick Santora, the series is said to be a global spy adventure with a father, Schwarzenegger, and daughter at the center of the story.
I thought it was grandfather, but maybe
Grandfather to me sounded way more interesting.
Yeah.
Now that it says father, I don't really care.
It should
Yeah.
be it should be grandpa and granddaughter.
That would be
Yeah.
interesting, right? And then like the parents are basically like just some normal, boring like. I was gonna say accountants, but our father's accountants. That feels mean.
Sorry, Dad.
Anyway, I mean, I think that would be interesting. It's being shopped around. You said.
Yeah, it hasn't been. I think the studio is Skydance, who did Terminator, the last couple Terminators. He has a good relationship with them. So he's doing this show, and he's clearly needs the pay or wants the paychecks.
You should do it on TBS.
No,
All access.
he should do it. He should do it on YouTube Red.
Because that thing is still around. So, speaking on the the '80s hype train here, Sylvester Stallone, who once again doesn't understand how to retire and enjoy life. What is it with these old '80s stars? Just go sit on the beach.
They enjoy their work.
When
When they sit on the beach, they're stressed.
They enjoy
When they're
their
making really bad
steroids.
action movies, they're happy. Okay?
So Stallone is doing a director's cut of Rocky 4. And at first, Arjun, when you were filling this out, it says no more robot. I thought it was a typo and said no more reboot. But there was going to be a robot?
No. So you remember the infamous scene in Rocky IV at the beginning where the robot comes out and says, "Happy birthday, Sully."
Yes.
To the brother?
Paulie.
Paulie, right.
They basically give Paulie a robot.
Right.
Yeah. He's cutting that.
They're cutting that part.
The entire scene.
They're cutting the robot. He's like, if there's no more robot, he said it doesn't fit anymore. He doesn't like it anymore, which indicates he did like it at some point.
Yeah.
To put it into the movie.
Was he the director of Rocky IV?
Yes.
I think he was
See,
the
we don't
director
know
of
that.
2, 3, and 4, right?
He was the director of quite a few
And 5?
of the bad ones.
6 and 7?
No,
And
actually,
8?
5 was the original director who did the first one.
Oh,
Pretty
but it was
sure.
so bad, though.
Is 5 where he trains his kid?
Mm,
Or is that 6?
he doesn't train his kid, but he trains
He trains
this,
a guy who
asshole.
betrays him, and then he fights him in the street.
Blonde mullet, I think.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So the big one out of that is just no more robot.
Yeah, but I want to bring up the fact that I think ever since this Zack Snyder director's cut
Yes.
Oh,
got
God.
announced, I feel like every director is now like puffing out their chest and like, I should do a director's cut of my movie.
Yeah.
And now Sylvester Stallone claims it because this is coinciding with the 35th year anniversary of the release of the movie. But my question to you guys is now: is everyone going to get an idea to do a director's cut? And if so, which director's cut of your favorite movie do you want to see?
M. Night Shyamalan signs.
Ooh, that's a,
director's cut.
that
Yes.
is a great one.
Now with more crazy Mel Gibson and Merle.
But the director's cut has to have a 3-shot of M. Night Shyamalan, Joaquin Phoenix, and Mel Gibson in a room together discussing the movie. I would pay money for that. I would pay money
I'd pay a lot of
to
money for
watch
that.
those 3 dissect signs.
Today.
Anytime. I don't care. I would pay $20 to see that. I really would.
And
I think for me,
that's funny because they all went kind of crazy after that movie. If you think about it.
M. Night Shyamalan didn't go crazy.
well, he made crazy movies that sucked.
Joaquin Phoenix didn't go crazy.
What?
He made a movie where he shit in someone's mouth.
Yeah.
What movie?
It was
The
the,
mockumentary where he became a rapper.
I'm
he
Still
shits
Here?
in someone's
No.
mouth.
Is
in
it,
that
is it
film?
I'm Still Here?
I'm still here.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
it's
he
it's-
shits. He
No, I've
shits
seen the
in a
movie.
guy.
I don't remember him
He
shitting
does.
in
he
someone's.
shits-
He does.
He
No, he
pulls down his
doesn't.
pants
It's
and shits in
disgusting.
someone.
I remember watching that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh god,
Yeah.
it's happening.
It's Casey Affleck's in that movie.
Yeah, because Casey Affleck and him were friends.
They were friends?
Because Casey was married to his sister, but then he had a domestic abuse thing with his
Yeah.
sister, and I don't think they're friends anymore.
Well,
that
good.
would make sense. I think for me, the movie that I think I would need a director's cut for would have to be
Extraction.
Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back.
no, Triple Frontier.
Oh,
Fuck
fuck off.
Absolutely. Fuck Triple Frontier.
Off.
You know why?
Why?
Because the movie is so good.
Oh
and I just
my
want to see its full potential.
I'm gonna go full DC here, and I say I want to see the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad.
Get out.
They clearly didn't take this serious, so we're moving on. So I'm going to let Arjuna. So Big Mouth, Arjuna. I know you're a big fan of that, so I'll let you bring up this news because I'm going to ruin the names here. So
Well, I might too. But Jenny Slate, who played the originally played the character of Missy, voiced the character of Missy, was announced earlier this year that she would be stepping down from the role and letting a black actress take the role. They have cast the actress. It is, bear with me here, Ayu Edebiri, replacing Jenny Slate. She's not just a voice actress, though. She is also a writer, and she's actually coming onto the show as a writer. Now, when this was first announced, Nick Kroll and the other creators of the show announced that most of the lines have been recorded for Season 4, so people assumed that the new actress would be taking on the role in Season 5. The new season, Season 4, is going to drop probably in the next few weeks. Has not been officially announced yet. But it was actually revealed today that the new voice actress, Ayu, helped write the new season and actually is taking over for the last 2 episodes. And there's going to be a story reason why her voice changes, and that's probably due to puberty.
yeah, that
because
works
the
perfectly.
the show is about
Yeah.
like middle
Kids.
schooler and high schoolers kind of going through puberty, preteens and all that type of fun stuff.
Is
So-
Big Mouth the show where the hormones or the emotions
Yes.
are?
Yep.
That is a really raunchy show. How could you watch that, Joe? You're not old enough.
Thanks, old man Krishna.
I'm just saying.
Krishna, I'm 28 years
The
old.
filth they put out for kids these days is disgusting.
It's for young adults
What?
like you.
Oh. Thank you. He called me young.
He's actually not a young adult. He's now in that almost that 35-year-old demo,
Fuck you.
which is considered old.
Oh yeah, you're like an adult now.
Hey.
You can be tried as an adult.
Oh, finally. Oh, I've been waiting for that.
You can go buy beer
Yeah. I can rent a car. I
and
can
you
buy
can
beer.
vote.
I can vote finally.
Wow.
Yeah. Only took 33 years.
Last piece of news that we have here is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion episode is officially happening
Well, that's wild.
via who is it via?
HBO Max.
HBO.
It'll be
Gotta be
released.
HBO.
It's going to film on September 10th.
Is it going to be like one of those like Parks and Rec Zoom call type episodes, or is it like in studio acting?
I feel like it's going to be in studio because they listed a director, they listed writers. They said they're going to film on a lot in a couple weeks.
that would mean
So
not
it
Zoom.
seems like it's not virtual. It's going to be a full episode. It's going to have basically the entire original cast plus
Jazzy Jazz.
plus Jazzy Jeff. Plus they said special guest stars. No word yet on if the original Aunt Vivian will appear. Probably not. Obviously, James Avery, who played Uncle Phil, will not be appearing on the episode. I'm sure that that will probably be the center of the reunion, potentially. Something about him
Oh yeah.
not being around and stuff. And what I'm curious about with this reunion episode, especially the timing of the news, is it comes off the heels that this reimagining dramatic reboot is happening. So I'm wondering if this is going to tie in somehow. If this is going to bridge. Is this like a backdoor pilot to the next Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I love that.
I mean, that would be smart.
Yeah.
Would make sense. It would be a good bridge, I think.
I hope so.
Either way, it's going to be wild to see them all. I really hope that they keep the same set. I don't know why. It makes no sense.
Sure it does.
But I kind of want them to. But, I feel we're still going to get Fresh Prince of Bel-Air vibes regardless of what the set looks like.
Do you think we're going to get some Chris Paul jokes?
Why Chris Paul?
Because Carlton has been in all those State Farm commercials.
Maybe
I
Chris
would
Paul.
so.
Trying
Maybe
to
Chris
put- trying to
Paul's
put-
going to show up.
Yeah, I hope so.
They did say special guest stars.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure they're going to work Jaden in there somehow, like Will's son. Like they're going to try and get everybody.
Everybody, because wasn't Trump in an episode of
Donald Trump was in an episode. Bill Cosby is referenced in a good
Lot.
light.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
episodes.
There's a lot of interesting stuff in that show.
Do you think they're going to do a direct-to-camera type thing where they'll say something about, like, Bill Cosby and be like, yeah, we got that wrong, or, like, Donald Trump and it's like,
Well, I mean, so I've been rewatching the show, and it's Will does turn to the camera and break the fourth wall
a lot.
at times.
Yeah.
So I kind of do hope they do a little bit of that because those are always funny. When they would turn to the camera and be like,
Whoopsie.
"Oopsie."
Oh, yeah, they will. How could they not?
So the episode,
No, tell me, how could they not?
I'm asking, please. Tell me.
so like I was saying, the episode is going to be filmed in a couple weeks, and it's going to air around Thanksgiving on HBO Max. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. But I mean that makes sense. Like
20-minute episode, or is it going to be like an hour
I kind of hope it's an hour.
special?
I hope it's 2
You
hours.
know, like a special, and if it is kind
It's
of
a
a
movie.
backdoor pilot and setting up stuff, I'm sure they'll also do kind of like a retrospective sit down interview type of thing that goes before or after the episode. So it's cool. Like it's a great show. It's still one of my all time favorites, and I mean more Fresh Prince the better in my mind.
They better keep the music style the same. I swear to God, if they update it, I'm punching the TV.
What if it's an old Will Smith doing the rap? I'd be okay with it.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
That'd
it
be
might
great.
even be better.
Yeah.
Because it's like maybe him like trying to shoot some basketballs, but he's like my knees.
Do you think it's gonna like? I don't know, because obviously like in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the main character is called Will Smith.
Yeah.
Do you think though what they're gonna do is like they'll just have Will Smith as Will Smith with his whole family, and like that's the update? Like
That would be wild.
so he gets all of his kids, he gets his wife, like all of
You
them
know
in
why?
there,
Because
like,
he's the new Uncle Phil. He would
Yeah.
he would be the new Uncle
He's
Phil.
past the age Uncle Phil was
Yeah.
during the filming of the episode.
He
The show.
looks great.
I was actually reading about Fresh Prince. Do you guys remember the character of Lisa in season 5 of Fresh Prince? The character he dates and then
The short
gets
girl.
engaged to.
Yeah.
and
Short hair.
is going to marry but doesn't.
Yep.
Jada Pinkett Smith was actually originally cast as Lisa, but she was too short because she's under 5 foot. and Will Smith is over 6.
Wait, Jada Pinkett Smith is under 5 feet?
Yeah, she's really short.
Whoa.
And so because of that height difference, especially on like a sitcom type of show, they're like, it's not going to work. So they recast. But it's funny because like that.
Were they dating at the time?
I think they were dating because I know he was married and got divorced on the show. And actually, Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton, I think introduced Jada and Will because because Alfonso Alfonso and Jada Pinkett Smith actually went on a date when they were like 17 or 18.
Because they're the same height.
So, fun fact.
All right, that's going to do it for us here at the Was It Good podcast. Those watching, thanks for watching. If you're listening and you want to see what we're talking about, check us out on twitch.tv/wasitgood. We do this podcast live every Monday evening, afternoon. It really depends on Christian's schedule, I feel.
It does.
He doesn't care about our juniors or my schedule.
That's
so
correct.
Thanks for that. You can
You're
also
welcome.
follow us along on Twitter. We're at Was It Good, and on Instagram at Was It Good BTM. We usually do kind of our giveaways and our random thoughts at 1 a.m. on those platforms, so it's a good spot to hit us up on.
Yeah, and we just debuted a new logo for Was It Good, so you can check those out on our social media pages.
You could tell us if it was good.
Yeah.
I guess you could, but it
And
better be good.
we have a YouTube page now, right? Was It Good?
Yeah, we do, but we're not big enough on the YouTube side to have a vanity URL, so I'm not going to read out the Unimetric whatever code.
YouTube.com/GHJXW.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's find it. Okay.
No, do not do
So,
that.
here we go.
Leave people alone.
It is youtube.com/channel/UC417TB59BOC_PH-JWB6FV3CW.
You can find our YouTube page on all our other social channels. Get us enough subscribers on YouTube so we can get a vanity plate and be youtube.com/wasitgood. You'll thank us later.
Instead of me having me to read that every time.
No, I kind of like that you have to read it every time.
Okay, yeah, let's end every episode like that.
Goodbye. Are we stopped down on everything?
You want me to stop the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to these people anymore.